Motorcycles, cars, music, three things that I grew up in, and I'm blessed enough to be able to continue.
Counting cars looked like every gearhead's dream: chrome, muscle cars, and a crew that felt like brothers. But behind the scenes at Koker Customs, it wasn't all burnouts and high fives. There were betrayals, lies, and exits so explosive they nearly tore the whole shop apart. Now, after years of silence, Danny Koker is finally naming the 5 worst employees the show ever had, and the reasons will shock even the most loyal fans. Think you know the full story? Think again. Buckle up, because the truth is way messier than the paint jobs. Born in Cleveland, Ohio and raised in Detroit, Michigan, Danny Koker grew up surrounded by muscle cars, Motown music, and a culture of craftsmanship. His father, Danny Koker Sr., was a touring gospel musician who shared his love of music and cars with his son. While other kids were out playing football, young Danny was under the hood, learning the art of restoration. By the time he was a teenager, he wasn't just fixing cars, he was bringing them back to life. In the early 1990s, Danny moved to Las Vegas and became a local TV sensation known as Count Cool Rider, a late-night horror host with a vampire aesthetic and a rock and roll vibe. While the persona was campy fun, it gave him experience in front of the camera and sparked something bigger. Around the same time, he launched Koker Customs, initially just a private garage to work on his own vehicles, but his bold, rebellious style caught the eyes of collectors, celebrities, and car lovers across the city. Then came the opportunity that changed everything. When Pawn Stars exploded on the History Channel, Danny was regularly brought in as an expert on classic cars and motorcycles. Viewers instantly connected with his no-nonsense approach and deep knowledge. Producers noticed too. In 2012, Counting Cars premiered as a spin-off, and the rest was history. From the very first episode, Counting Cars stood out. It wasn't about staged fights or scripted drama. It was about real people, real builds, and real stakes. At the heart of it was Danny Koker, a perfectionist who pushed his team to deliver world-class custom work. Within just a few seasons, the show became one of the most popular on the History Channel, and Koker Customs transformed into a full-blown tourist destination. Danny's personal collection of cars grew to over 100, and his name became synonymous with quality, creativity, and rock and roll grit. But while everything looked smooth on screen, trouble was brewing behind the scenes. The first major scandal came from someone most fans never saw on camera: Joseph Frontiera, the shop's bookkeeper, trusted with payroll and expenses. He was supposed to safeguard the shop's finances. Instead, he stole over $75,000, using the money for personal travel and a down payment on a Range Rover. Even worse, he allegedly forged Danny's signature to cover it up. In 2016, Koker Customs filed a lawsuit against Frontiera and the staffing agency that placed him. There was no dramatic on-screen firing. Joseph simply disappeared, and fans were left stunned by the silence. Next came Scott Jones, the shop manager during the show's early seasons. While Danny was the creative dreamer, Scott was the enforcer, the numbers guy, always keeping budgets in check. Their frequent on-screen clashes were real, but after season 2, Scott vanished without explanation. Rumors of financial mismanagement swirled, but none were proven. In truth, he moved to Tennessee to be closer to his family and started his own business, Koker Extreme Automotive. He later reappeared on Netflix's Swap Shop, but never spoke publicly about his time on Counting Cars. Another sudden exit came from Rolly Sabo, known to fans as Rock and Rolly. With his thick Hungarian accent, infectious humor, and elite detailing skills, Rolly was a fan favorite. But in 2017, he also disappeared without a farewell. Around the same time, thousands of dollars in detailing equipment were reported stolen. Though no charges were filed, whispers tied Rolly to the theft. He now runs Rock and Rolly Custom Detailing in Las Vegas, quietly continuing his work away from the spotlight. Perhaps the most talented builder to exit the show was Shannon Aikau, the lead motorcycle craftsman. Soft-spoken and insanely skilled, Shannon built bikes that were nothing short of art. But as the show leaned more into flashy drama and entertainment, Shannon's screen time dwindled. By season 7, he was practically gone. Insiders say it wasn't scandal, it was creative differences. Shannon didn't want to perform, he wanted to build, and so, in typical quiet fashion, he stepped away. Today, he remains active in the Las Vegas bike scene, still crafting incredible motorcycles on his own terms. And then there was Mike Henry, better known as Horny Mike. With his horned helmet, bright mohawks, and wild energy, Mike was impossible to miss. He was also a master airbrush artist, turning bikes and cars into rolling works of art. But his bold style didn't always mesh with the shop's brand. Over time, creative clashes with Danny surfaced. Mike wanted to push boundaries, Danny needed to protect the brand. The tension was real. Eventually, Mike's role shrank, and he began focusing on his own business, Horny Mike Designs. He still creates custom art and pops in occasionally at Count's Customs, but his days as a full-time cast member are behind him. As Counting Cars climbed the ranks of reality television, the humble garage known as Count's Customs became something much bigger and much harder to manage. What started as a gritty Las Vegas shop full of grease-stained gearheads transformed into a full-blown media empire. Tourists began lining up outside the shop just for a glimpse of the crew. Fans wanted autographs and selfies. Clients demanded impossible turnaround times on six-figure custom builds. The shop floor became a stage. Every build became a performance, and every crew member, whether they wanted to or not, became a reality TV personality. The pressure was suffocating. What used to be a brotherhood started to feel like a battlefield. Danny Koker, who once led a tight-knit team of passionate builders, found himself at the center of clashing egos, creative arguments, and personal breakdowns. Longtime employees began to compete for screen time. Credit for builds became a sensitive subject. Some thrived in the spotlight, others quietly crumbled. The very thing that made Counting Cars special, its authenticity, was being tested by the weight of its own success. And yet, while the shop wrestled with fame's fallout, Danny pushed forward. He didn't just sit back and enjoy the ride, he accelerated. He expanded the Count's brand across Las Vegas, opening Count's Vamped Rock Bar, a rowdy venue where classic cars and live music collided. He launched Count's Tattoo Company, merging custom ink with his custom machines. He kept touring with his band, Count 77, never letting go of the rock and roll spirit that fueled him from day one. But behind the scenes, the cracks were widening. Lawsuits surfaced, key employees vanished without explanation, some left under a cloud of scandal. Others walked away quietly, worn down by production schedules, clashing visions, or broken trust. The cameras never showed it, but inside the garage, the toll was mounting. Counting Cars wasn't just a reality show, it was a living machine. One fueled by grit, creativity, and loyalty, but strained by fame, money, and time. Not everyone made it through. Some left their legacy, others left their mess. But every one of them shaped the journey, because behind every custom paint job and roaring engine, there's a deeper story. And the rise of Count's Customs was never without its sacrifices. So next time you watch Counting Cars, know there's more beneath the chrome. Every car had a backstory, every crew member had their moment, and every departure left a mark. If you love digging deeper into the shows you thought you knew, like, share, and subscribe for more untold TV truths. Drop your favorite Counting Cars memory below. Thanks for watching.